The other week, Google mouthpiece John Mueller made a few comments regarding AI-generated content. He said that, according to Google, that would be against their webmaster guidelines because it falls under automated content, which we all know is just not allowed, and Google don't want it, they won't rank it, and you may even get a penalty from Google on your site. John also then went on to say that AI content was very difficult to detect, and the web spam team would have to manually review each piece of alleged AI content to flag whether it is indeed AI content. And this got me thinking, can a human really detect AI content? Well, I'm not sure, but I set up a little experiment to see if we could find out. It's obviously completely unscientific because it's by me. But yeah, basically I shared a couple of articles, Article A and Article B. And I asked you guys to let me know which one you thought was generated or created with the help of an AI tool. Now, let me be clear. The articles in question, the first one was created by a writer, not a particularly expensive writer, I will say, a few cents a word kind of writer, who promised me that they don't use AI tools. And then the second article was created by me with the help of Jasper. And in fact, those eagle-eyed eaglers will have spotted that it was an article that I created on a couple of recent live streams. And I'll put links to them in the description so you can actually watch me create that article using Jasper. By the way, if you're not using Jasper, you should certainly go and check it out. I'll put a link up to Jasper now, and you'll find a link in the comments. It's a fantastic AI tool. I love it. I use it all the time. By the way, that link is an affiliate link, so thank you very much if you use it. But anyway, back to the experiment. So I asked you guys to let me know which one you thought. I did a poll on YouTube. I did a video on it as well and asked you to put some stuff in the comments with regards to which one you thought was the AI article. I also did a Facebook poll and a Twitter poll. No one really answered the Twitter poll, but never mind. Yeah, so we had Facebook, we had YouTube, and well, the results are in. I've counted up all the votes and I've also plucked some of the interesting comments from you guys. And well, I think we have an outcome that could be statistically significant, maybe. I don't know. Let's take a look. Hello, it's Alex here. Hope you're all well. So let me start by telling you which article was the AI-assisted article. It is, of course, Article B. And as I said, those of you that are regulars on my Thursday stream would have spotted that it was an article I created during a couple of those streams. So now you know which article is the AI one. Let's take a look at some of the votes. Let's start with the YouTube community poll that I did. It was this one here. And it was on my community tab on the WP Eagle channel. You can go take a look if you haven't seen it already. And we can see that we had 158 votes and 66% of you thought that Article A, the one that was created by my cheap writer, was AI. So in the first poll, yeah, well, 34% of you are right, but I'm afraid 66% of you didn't get it right. So I'm pretty sure that's fairly conclusive that humans can't detect whether an article is AI. We had a few interesting comments underneath the poll, like this one from Electronic Earnings, who says, I'm not sure. I read a few sentences of both articles. Article B reads a lot better, so I voted Article A was AI. If Article A was a writer, however, I would fire them, lol. Well, yeah, Article A was written by a writer that's actually on trial with me at the moment. So yeah, the trial's not doing too well based on some of the comments that you guys left me regarding their work. Andrew said, I'm not sure that we can tell. However, from reading the first few paragraphs, I can say that Article B is better. I didn't ask which article was better, of course, but yeah, I do agree with you, Andrew. I think the article that I created using AI does read better and is, yeah, overall better. At this point, I do actually want to say that neither article is a fantastic article. The AI one is good, but it can still be improved. I think if I go through it again, do a bit more editing, maybe expand a few bits here and there, I can make the article really good. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day, whether it be created by a writer or created with the help of a software tool. You're really looking just to create the best possible content you can. And if you do that, I'm pretty sure you don't need to worry about Google penalizing you or not giving you the ranking that you deserve, because good content should always rank well. I say should because, it doesn't always, but it's a good place to start. Chris from Niche Safari, who by the way has got a fantastic YouTube channel, you should go check it out. Chris says there are free tools out there that can detect AI, and I'd say that Google could detect AI easily if it wants. They just seem not to want to. I don't see it being punished by Google at all, to be honest. It's the future. Yeah, good point there, Chris. I think it could be the future, and indeed, Google use AI a lot in terms of putting together the search results pages and all that kind of thing. So they're kind of embracing AI in one arm and pushing it away with the other. And with regards to those tools that say that they can detect AI, I did try a couple of them. The face hugging one, or the hugging face one, whatever it's called, I'll put a link to it in the description. And it didn't seem to be particularly accurate for me. It was getting false positives on content that I'd written by hand, and it wasn't detecting some of the AI content I'd created. So I'm not sure they're kind of where they need to be just yet. Anyway, let's move on to the Facebook poll. It was this one here. It was over in the WP Eagle Mastermind group on Facebook, which, by the way, if you're not a member of, you should certainly come and join us. It's a great place to hang out on Facebook. You'll find a link to it in the description. So on Facebook, we had 50 votes cast, and out of those 50 votes, 62% of you thought that Article A was the AI one. So again, 62% of you got it wrong, I'm afraid. Now, Tony, regular on the channel and regular in the Facebook group, he added a little extra option, which was both. And 6% of you actually thought that maybe both of them were AI, which hadn't really crossed my mind because I thought and I trust that the writer, when they say they're not using AI, isn't using AI. But of course, I can't be sure about that, but I'm pretty sure reading it that it was just written by a writer. That leaves 32% of you that thought it was B, 32% of you that got it correct, because, yeah, it was B. Let's take a look at a couple of the comments on the Facebook poll. We had this one from Sakib, who says, I think it's B, as the conclusion part is more focused on the subheadings. That's what Jasper generally does. Well done, Sakib, you got it right, and you've obviously kind of identified certain traits and styles within Jasper's writing that enables you to identify AI content quite easily. You better watch out, you might get a job at Google before you know it. David says, I believe it is A, however, I could see it being B as well. What I do know is that B is a better read for me personally. Well, that's good to hear, isn't it? That, AI content, even if it is generated using a computer, it reads better than some of the stuff churned out by cheap writers. So it's good to know. The last place we're going to look is within the comments of the YouTube video I put up earlier this week, telling you about the experiment. And I basically said, just leave A or B in the comments and I'll add them all up and work it out from there. So we had 14 vote comments within the comment section of that video, and 57% of you thought it was A. That leaves, with a lot of quick maths, 43% of you thinking it was B. So that was a lot closer, but then there's a lot less votes. But still, the majority of you thought that it was Article A. There were some interesting comments below this video. Let me share a couple of them with you. The first one is this one from Hugs and Thanks, who says, I can detect articles written with AI within seconds, maybe because I have spent a lot of time with AI tools for the last few months. One simple trick is to ask this question when reading. Is it something quite unique? Or is it just some rewritten common sense ideas that most people already know about? So, fair enough, he says, or she says, or they say, they can detect it within seconds. So I replied back and said, okay, which one is it then? And then someone else popped up and said, A, wrong. And then the original poster, Hugs and Thanks, came back and said, it's A for sure. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, Hugs and Thanks. You're wrong. So maybe you can't detect AI content within seconds. I'm going to finish off the comments with this one from Karen, who says 100% B. I use Jasper and there are specific sentence structures and phrases it always uses. So she got it right and she's very confident. So I was intrigued by this and I replied back with, do you have an example? And then she goes on to explain that looking at my article B, the AI one, you can see that there are sentences that start with but, and there's hyphens mid-sentence. There are some sentences that have been chopped into two when they could be one. The word vital, on track, on off track is used quite a bit. And she goes on to say that there's nothing wrong with those things and a live writer would probably use them as well. I'm just pointing out how I know which is AI. Would I have known if you hadn't asked? I probably wouldn't have even thought of it, except maybe for the sentences starting with but. I have some of those on my site too. So nothing wrong with it, it's just a Jasper favourite. So Karen has been using Jasper quite a lot and she has spotted a few patterns in the way that Jasper puts content together. So well done, Karen. And yeah, maybe Google would be interested in talking to you about how they can detect AI content. So what have we learned from all this? Well, we've learned that it's quite hard to detect content that's been created with the assistance of AI. And I don't think anyone, apart from maybe Karen, can be 100% certain whether an article has been created with AI. So is Google really going to risk flagging content as AI when it might not be? I mean, it's fair enough if it's bad content, and the web's already full of bad content, and I think Google knows how to deal with that, but detecting whether it's AI and penalizing, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So that brings us to the end of this video. Hope you found it interesting and fun. I certainly did, and thanks very much for all your votes and your comments. I read through each one and really appreciate all the feedback and everything that you do for me on my channel. Keep doing it, I love it. If you're new here, why not subscribe? You can do so by clicking on the button below. I do a live stream or two every week, so if you do subscribe and you click the bell, you will get a notification about those, as well as all the new videos and other stuff that I do right here on this YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you liked it in any way, please click the like button. That really does help me out. But until next time, good luck with your sites and bye for now.